Thanks so much for responding to my invitation to come along. I actually haven't run something like this publicly for a long time, and I just spur of the moment the other day thought I would do it as a part of this project I've launched called Influence Faculty, which I'll tell you a bit about. So again, how to build an influential blog that is profitable. What this is part of Influence Faculty online events, and these are actually going to feature part of the blog that I've actually just launched. So what you're going to see is an insight into what I'm actually doing with the new blog I've launched, and get to see behind the scenes on that, and I think you'll find that really valuable. Now, the mind map that I based this on, I was going to take you through the mind map, but instead I've turned it into a PowerPoint presentation. The things we're going to cover, why you might need or want to start a blog. Some people I know on the call do not have a blog and are looking at starting one for the first time. Others of you have a blog or an excuse for one. I've had lots of those, and it might be sitting there languishing and you really haven't done anything with it and don't really know what to do it. Someone told you you should have one and you don't really know how to use it. So hopefully I will completely sort that out for you tonight. The key thing though that you want to have is an influential blog. You just don't want to have something sitting there. You want your blog to have an impact on other people, and we'll go through how to do that at a basic level. And then, of course, you want to make the blog profitable. Now, even if for you that literally means that you get to earn some revenue that keeps the lights on, keeps the hosting going, and brings in a bit of money just to keep you interested, then if that's the level you're aiming at, then great, we'll be able to cover that off. Or perhaps you want to do something far more extreme, and that is generate significant income from your blog, and there's various ways to do that, which we'll cover off tonight as well. At the end, I'm going to reveal some stats from this new project, so I want you to stay all the way through so you get to see an insight into it. And I've also discovered a really, really good resource for you just in the last week that I'm really excited to share with you. So again, I'll share that with you at the end of this presentation. So one of the things I posted up on Facebook today was a screenshot from the analytics of my new blog here, Influence Faculty. This is a screenshot of the top 10 landing pages on that blog. What that means is a landing page is the first page that a new visitor lands on when they go to the blog. And what I want you to notice here is what we call the bounce rate. Now, a bounce rate is when someone goes to your web page or your blog and doesn't find it relevant and bounces straight back off, like they hit the back button on their browser. And when we're working with businesses, often a bounce rate is around 40 to 50%. Sometimes it's as high as 70 to 80%, which literally means 70 to 80% of people hit the page and immediately bounce off it because the page isn't relevant for them. What you can see here in this image is evidence that the bounce rate for these top 10 pages is less than, in many cases, 1%, and it doesn't rise higher than 3%, which means at least 7% of the people coming are engaged with the content. And at the end of the presentation, I'll give you an idea of what those pages actually were and how I managed to get such interest in what I'm doing. A bit of a background about me, just really a top-level view. I dropped out of high school in 1987 to go and be a musician, and after 6 years of trying to do that passionately, I then decided to go back to uni. So I had to go back to school in order to get back into university, and I was the first person in my family to go to uni. As time progressed, 1997, I started a scientific journal, which was very audacious for someone like me at that time, and that's gone on to be a great success. And a lot of the skills and knowledge I have now that I apply to what I'm doing online came from, you know, the hard yards there about learning how to do publishing and learning how to write and learning how to edit. And that's one of the key things I want you all to realize is that you have this great background. I know a lot of you are professionals, and a lot of what you've already done you'll find very useful when you go out to start a blog, because you can draw on that experience you've already had and realize that it can apply to what you would now set out to do with a blog. I became a lecturer as part of all this insane passion I had for dealing with pain and musculoskeletal problems, which was the area I was in. I joined a lot of discussion forums, and like the early version of social media, it's because a lot of people from all over the world getting on and passionately discussing what their interests are. And so again, my introduction to online things really came in the form of those discussion forums. I started seriously with online business in 2008, and blogs were a very big part of that. And at the end of 2009, I was actually to leave my university work and also sell my private practices. And it's now 2013, and I'm still surviving and pretty happy with it. So that's the kind of basic background. What you are looking at now is the most important people in my life. The reason I'm doing all this online stuff, this is my family and they really are the basis of what I do. In fact, we've had some health issues in the family, and having an online business and having revenue from a blog and other online revenue enabled me to be able to be there when I needed to be there for my family. Whereas before, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So again, just wanted to let you know that they're really important to me and a part of this whole process. Now, being transparent, I was never the popular kid at school or work, and you'll see why this has relevance to blogs in a minute. In fact, I tended to have a few close friends. That was how it worked for me all the way through school and through work. So my success hasn't come from volume. And a lot of what we hear on the internet and about blogs is how much volume you're getting, how much traffic you're getting. And I still look at those things as well for myself, but my success hasn't come from that. And I want you to take heart with this, because depending on how you use your blog, you might not get lots of visitors. You might not get 20,000 hits a month on your blog and that type of thing. But that doesn't mean you can't have an influential blog or one that is profitable, because my successes have come from a few quality relationships. And that seems to be the way it's been throughout my whole life. And so basically it was a very similar journey online. So I say that up front so that you don't feel like you have to have this massive volume of traffic in order to have a successful blog. I could also say I've wasted lots of time trying different things, but very much now as I sit looking what I'm trying to achieve in the next year or two, I realize that it's actually that I've invested lots of time trying different things. So it's not a question of necessarily starting and immediately being successful. Even if you have all the right ingredients, sometimes the cake still goes flat, and that's definitely happened to me. So this isn't, I'm not trying to pull the wool over your eyes on a webinar like this and say it's all just roses. Sometimes there's difficulties, sometimes you write something you think is going to be interesting and no one's interested, but you just have fun by getting in and having a shot, basically. The other thing is I've never been the smartest guy in the room, ever, but I've definitely been one of the most persistent. And there's the big lesson with this too. You've come along tonight, you've invested some time tonight to find out about what I'm doing and how to have a blog. And the key thing I can say is it won't be successful if you're not persistent with it. So before you even embark on a journey to go and start a blog, you really need to understand why you would do it, what you think the benefits are going to be, and realize that it's something that you commit to over a period of time, because when you do that, you then can get quite a lot of value out of doing it, and it's definitely worthwhile. Over the last couple of years, I have traveled a lot in order to learn what I now do. So a lot of trips, a lot of them were to the US. Qantas was my preference of choice. And then I'd have to fly around on these little tiny jets you can see right now, which you kind of wondered whether you should even get on them to fly around to small places in the US. But the information I'm sharing with you tonight has really come over the last 4 years from a lot of time traveling, a lot of time learning from other people, and a lot of trial and error, but it's still been really successful for me. Now, just really quickly finishing up here, I do have a heritage I want to acknowledge before I even go forward. And as I talk through this, again, I want you to reflect on your life and the heritage you have, and how you'll be able to draw on that when you start your blog or you grow your blog to have success. I started the journal, the publishing that I did, with my friend and colleague Rob Moran, and we started that journal in 1997. It's still going now, that's 16 years, and a lot of who I am and the success I've had has been a result of the partnership I've had with Rob, so I want to acknowledge him. And then also this professor dude over here, Professor Nick Bogduke, I did a master's degree with him and a PhD, and he was on my case all the time about writing and being clear with what I wrote. So even when I'm preparing a blog post now, or I'm preparing a video script now, I can hear him in the background and his advice around making sure that what I'm saying is clear. And it still might not be, but it's clearer than it would have been if I hadn't had his input. When it comes to the internet, 3 other people to acknowledge, and then we'll get into it. One is James Shremko. He helped me a lot when I started learning how to form a business around what I do. James is a good friend of mine, and he's now doing over $1 million a year online through various online businesses he has, and blogging is a very big part of what he does. That's us in Orlando, I think, or Atlanta at the time. Another really good friend of mine who I started out with 4 years ago is Steve Ovens. And he's an IT guy, so a lot of the technical things I've learned have come through Steve, to acknowledge him. And then this character over here, Frank Kern, he's a marketer from the US, learned a lot about how to market and turn a blog into something profitable from working and learning Frank. Which has led me to this point here, which is Influence Faculty and the new blog that I've just launched about 2 months ago, and which I'm going to use throughout this presentation as an example so you can see what I've done and how you might be able to replicate the same thing for your blog, whichever kind of blog it is going to be that you have. Now, for me, influence is the most useful skill I think that you will ever acquire. This is where I've come to from all my time in healthcare and research and then everything. And the reason I think it's so important is that you will develop the power to change yourself and those around you. And for me, I'd like to encourage you that that is the reason that you would have a blog, because 1, you will be changed by the experience, and 2, you can really use it to change those around you. And the 3 things that we focus on at the Influence Faculty: me, we, and space, where me is my own motivation and the skills that I have. We refers to the social structure around us that enables us to do the things we do, and sometimes prevents us actually from doing the things we want to do. And space refers to our environment. And all of those three things need to be in alignment to really enable us to have success. And you'll see as we go through this, if you want to have a blog that's successful, then your own motivation needs to be in alignment with that. You need to develop skills. It's great to be part of a social support structure that helps support your ambitions with your blog. And it's really important to have the right things in place around you that facilitate your blog. That would include things like the right software, the right environment if you're going to do writing, or if you're going to use video as part of your blog, that you'd have the right things around you to facilitate that. If all you do after tonight is get revved up and motivated about having a blog, and that's all you've got is your own motivation, then you're up against a pretty hard road, because that motivation will fluctuate. And unless you develop the skills and have a social support structure around you to help you develop that blog, then you'll find it pretty hard, and it'll be one of those things that kind of fades away. So just again, being really open and honest about that, but I've got a resource that can help you with that anyway at the end, so that's what I'll tell you about. Okay, this is an actual image from Influence Faculty's, the actual blog itself, just the way I've got it laid out, each of those representing the different posts that I have on the blog. You can see there's some video there and some images, all to make it look attractive. If you want to check it out, it's at influencefaculty.com/blog. Let's get right back into why you would go ahead and have a blog. This is the key question that we need to answer before you even go ahead and just start one, is really having a good understanding of why. So for some people, it is purely the creative outlet. That's why they do it. They're passionate about something and they want to use a blog as a way to explore that. And I've seen some statistics around about 20,000 new blogs starting per day. I think that could be a dubious statistic, but nonetheless, a lot of people are starting blogs on a regular basis. And if that's what you would like to do and it's a creative outlet for you, then it's a great idea. Another reason you might start a blog is that you want to have increased reach. That's another way of saying increased influence. And this is a map from analytics showing the people who visit one of the blogs I've had. And it just goes to show you've got these people from all over the world. You don't know how they find you, but they do. And you begin to realize what a very small world we live in when you have a blog and when you realize that people from all over the world read your content or access your videos or whatever it is. So this might be another reason that you have come along tonight to find out about a blog. You may just really, really want to help people, and a blog is a great way to do that. And again, that might be why you're here tonight. Maybe you are really looking for increased recognition of your expertise and to grow your reputation. Now that can happen at a very local level. Let's just say that you're a professional, you work in a local environment, and you would like to use a blog to get increased recognition in your community so that you can grow your business and you can attract more clients to your business. That's a really important reason why people want to start a blog, and I've definitely used them for that purpose. Again, it could be all about attracting traffic to your business. Now, traffic is the dehumanized way of referring to people, but using a blog to send people right through to your other business is a great plan. Some of you might actually like to earn money directly from the blog itself, and there's various ways to do that. We call it monetizing a blog, and we're going to go through some of those ways tonight. And another great way, a reason to use a blog, is for networking. I've definitely used it that way because a blog provides ways for you to get in contact with other people in the world who open up an incredible world of opportunity to you. And it's just amazing how easy it is to meet them and communicate them through this whole blogosphere, through this blogging community. So networking is another great reason to start a blog. And another thing you can use a blog for is to actually write a book. I'm not the first person to come up with this idea at all. Lots of authors have actually turned their blog posts into a book, and they might even write one blog post per day. And if you think about that, at the end of a year, you'd have 365 blog posts. And if you had some strategy around it, at the end of the year, you could package all those posts up and publish that as a book, or at least get it edited and turned into a book. And that's one of the projects I'm actually working on. It's really exciting at Influence Faculty Publishing, is using that strategy to actually get lots of books written, and one in particular. But that's going to take about a year-long project, and it's part of what I'm looking to do. So hopefully just even those examples appeal to you in one way. Maybe there's one or more examples that appeal to you there about why you would start a blog, and you may have other whys for you about why you might start one as well. Now, just some examples of blogs to give you an idea. A website called Mercola.com, and it's one of the most highly trafficked natural healthcare websites in the world. Pretty sure he's an osteopathic physician in the United States, and even though he doesn't have the word blog anywhere on here, you can see that the homepage of this website is structured with current health news, which is virtually the same as saying a blog. Essentially what he does is put updated information on the front of his website, which is exactly how a blog functions. And people come and read it. Now, what he then does is he sells products on this website. And this is a 7-figure blog, so it's doing over $1 million a year through the blog. So it's been going for a long time as well, so very well established. But that's an example of someone who is using a blog. Go ahead and check it out. Go to Macola.com, check it out and have a look and just see what he's doing and how he uses education and information to help people. And then at the same time, he provides them with the opportunity to buy products that also help them, and that's how he monetizes the website. Another one called Mashable is a blog, and it is really all about IT, technology, media, social media, and its whole model is to get a lot of volume to this blog so that it can then sell advertising, which is a very common and traditional model of doing this. So this falls into that high volume category of blog where they have to produce a lot of fresh content. They've got a lot of writers writing for them. And because they get so many eyeballs coming to this blog, they can then attract advertisers to come and pay for banner ads and things like that. If we actually go to something that is at the opposite end of the scale, this is one guy, and he's an emergency physician based over in Western Australia, if I'm correct. And he writes about emergency medicine, but he writes about it for everyone. So again, you could go and check this out, lifeinthefastlane.com. And he's someone who's just really been in there, passionate about emergency medicine. He blogs about it. He's won medical blogger awards and things like that. And he has now developed a range of ways to monetize this blog through various merchandise that he sells and other things that he links off to from the blog. So this isn't a massive one. It's in a very specific niche, if you like. It's in the emergency medicine niche. Another blog, you might have heard of Tim Ferriss with that book, The 4-Hour Workweek. Maybe you own a copy. There's also The 4-Hour Body and now The 4-Hour Chef. But again, all based around a blog, putting out fresh content all the time and attracting a readership of people. Now, this is another blog called Uncluttered White Spaces, and this is someone I've done some work with in the past based in Australia. And here's a really interesting way they're using the blog. They've got a number of writers. They write about the topics that they're passionate about, and they don't monetize this website at all, meaning this website doesn't generate revenue. But what it does is that it positions them as having expertise, and it helps them get really high-end consulting clients. So again, you can see what they've decided is not to monetize this at all. It's all just about providing information to people and talking about topics that they're interested in. And as a result of the people they then meet through this blog, that then tips over into their other business. So again, completely different way of using a blog to be influential and profitable for them. Now, for something completely different, this is a research paper that I published as part of my PhD. And what would typically happen with a research paper like this is it gets published in an academic journal, it sits on a shelf, maybe some people download the PDF and could easily just disappear into oblivion with all the other 30 to 40,000 research papers that get published every 5 minutes or something in the world these days. So I could have just left it at that, but what I decided to do was turn a single research paper into a blog, a full website. And so I went ahead. This was very inexpensive to set up, and it's a fairly basic site, and it's at quarrel.org. That's the website it's at. And what it enables people to do is to find my research. And because that's why I did the research, I wanted people to be able to find it and use it. And I felt like I had to do far more than just let it sit in an academic journal. I needed to promote it. And so there's the front page of the blog or the website. The actual blog itself is here. And if you go there and look, I've actually only put 2 or 3 blog posts on this particular blog because I've achieved the aim. I want you to notice something in the right-hand column there is an ability for me to capture people's names and emails. And that's the key thing, is that people can now come to this blog, they can access that tool that I developed as part of my PhD, and to access it, they have to give me their name and email, and that way I can actually form a communication with them, have a dialogue with them about their interest in my tool that I developed, which of course is what I want to do. Now, I want you to notice this, because now I've gone to Google, and if I type in the phrase reliability quality appraisal tool, don't worry about the technical term, but that's what people in that area type in, you can see that down there in the red box, that is where my website sits. And if you look at the top, you can see that out of 30,200,000 pages, that Google has decided that my particular blog is worthwhile showing on the front page for that search term. Now, if you look above that as well, you can see that my actual research paper is indexed in Google, but if you click on those links, you can't actually get the paper. You can just get a small, like a teaser about it. Whereas if they go to my website, they can actually get the tool and they can give me their name and email and I can have contact with them. So there's another way entirely, again, as an example of using a blog to actually turn a research paper into something far more valuable for people. In fact, if I show you the full page, I set up another blog for this as well, and both of my blogs are on the first page for that search term. So they're just examples, again, of blogs to whet your appetite about what's possible. Now, if we then start to dig into now what you would do for your blog, the first question that I like to ask people is this, and that is, what is your functional rhythm? And what I mean by that is, when are you functioning at your best? When are you your best version of yourself? What is it that you're actually doing? And what I find, having worked now with thousands of people, a lot of entrepreneurs who are looking to start online businesses or people who are looking to expand their careers, is a lot of people struggle to know exactly what it is that their passion is and what they should be doing. And so it's really worthwhile spending some time thinking about that, because if you can get clear on what that is, you will have much more enjoyment with the blog, and it will enable you to persist when things get a bit tough or you get whatever. You won't get as bored with it because it's completely in line with what I call your functional rhythm. Now, I've actually got a report that you can download for free. If you go to influencefaculty.com, it's not actually advertised on there, but if you put your name and email in, you'll actually get the report. And what it does is it takes you through a very comprehensive 3-step process to help you do an inventory of everything you've done, so you're very clear on what your skill set is and the range of experiences you have. It helps to identify for you areas of your life where you might need to get some balance, and it also helps you to frame what your ideal life and what your ideal day would be like. So those 3 things are drawn from positive psychology and positive coaching, and you'll find it really useful to go through as a way to prepare yourself to figure out how you're going to move forward with your blog to give yourself the best chance of success with it, which is what I really want for you. I want as many of you as go and start a blog or pick up an old blog that's lying around that you haven't done anything with. I really want you to have success with it, and I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have this stuff sorted out before you do that. And once you've gone through all that, you'll be left with a much clearer picture of who you are and what you should really be focusing on. But that doesn't equal a brand. And if you're going to do a blog that's influential and profitable, then it needs to be in the context of a brand. Now, I didn't used to realize the importance of this until I started doing some work with a gentleman by the name of Glenn Campbell, who is a branding expert, 25 years experience working on some of the biggest brands in the world. And he's helped me understand the importance of a brand. And it's so important that I felt it was important to take you through that before you went ahead and just started a blog, because, again, doing this process will really help you get clarity over what you're doing. By the way, that's his website. If you want to go and check it out, brandheart.com.au. He's got a couple of great free reports that you can download and get an insight into this man's head. He's really a phenomenal character, and I just thought I'd recognize him here for that. But let me just take you through what he's helped me understand about a brand. Now, a brand should have a vision, and when I say brand, I want you to hear the word blog as well, okay? Because if you're going to do a blog, you should have a vision for what you want to achieve with the blog. And the vision should be grandiose. It should be something maybe that is even unattainable, something you're really reaching for. And so for Influence Faculty, for example, my vision is that I want to help people live their dynamic potential. That is my overall vision. And so everything I do needs to go toward that ultimate aim, that ultimate vision. You then need to have a purpose. What is the reason for your blog or your brand? And again, to give you an insight, the purpose of Influence Faculty is to maximize people's ability to influence. That's the purpose, okay? The next thing after having a purpose is, what are the benefits? So when you're thinking of a blog, you need to think about, well, how is this going to benefit other people? And so again, as just a way of an example, Influence Faculty, the benefits are that people will have a powerful positive impact that brings reward and legacy. So I want you to now see the way these 3 things fit together. And it goes like this. The purpose of my blog, Influence Faculty, is to maximize people's ability to influence so that they can have a powerful positive impact that brings reward and legacy. And by doing that, they will then be living their dynamic potential. So you can see those 3 things fitting together: vision, purpose, and benefits. So if I was to sit down with you, or you were to contact me on Facebook or by Skype or by email, and you were to say, well, Nick, I'm not sure what the blog is, or I'm thinking of doing a blog on this, that, or the other, I should be able to say to you, well, look, what's the vision, what's the purpose, and what are the benefits? And it would be great if you could come back and answer that, because if you're clear on that, then it will just save you a lot of time if you can get clear on that now before you start. Now we'll quickly go through these things because your blog needs to have its own personality, just like a brand does. You'll have certain values that that'll come out through what you write and through who you are as a person. And all of that then leads to a name of your brand, or in our case, a name of your blog. It might be your name that you'll actually go out with if you're the brand, or you may come up with a different name that is going to be the brand of your blog. Like the one, for example, from the emergency physician was Life in the Fast Lane. Once you've done all that, you'll then get some kind of logo that represents your blog, because that's what you'll need to have when you get the blog designed as you move forward. You'll then have some kind of tagline to go under the logo. And the tagline is often going to come from the vision or the purpose or the benefits. So again, just as an example, so you can see how this works, if you can see the logo on this slide here is Influence Faculty, I could have a tagline that is Influence Faculty, live your dynamic potential. Or I could have Influence Faculty, maximize your ability to influence. Or I could have Influence Faculty, have a powerful positive impact. You can see how having that vision, purpose, and benefits really gives you some great wordsmithing that you can use to create a tagline that sounds powerful and that is interesting to other people. Once you've done all that, your blog needs to have a value proposition. So really you need to think about what problem do you actually solve for people, or what desire do you fuel? Now, if you're using a blog just as a creative outlet, then the focus in that case is kind of really all about you and your creative outlet. If you want to be more influential and you actually want to have a profitable blog, then it can't be really about you. It's got to be about the people who you're going to help. And so that's why you really need to understand what the value proposition is. What problem do you solve for people? Or what desire do you fuel for them? You need to be really clear on that, because that's the only way you're going to have a profitable blog, is if you have the answer to those two questions. Now again, this kind of ties into whether you want the blog just to be influential, or whether you want the blog to be influential and profitable. Now if it's going to be profitable, then you really have to engage in some form of commerce, right? So e-commerce. So the ways that you can do it through a blog are, you can have product sales, and those products can be physical products, or they can be digital products like software or books or courses. You may actually sell other people's products. You might not even have your own products to sell, but you may sell other people's products, in which case you then get a commission for having sold the product or recommended the product. Maybe you're using the blog to get new clients to your business or get consulting clients. Maybe you use the blog to promote an event, and that's actually how you then make the money, is through running an event. Maybe you've got a coaching business and you use the blog to get new coaching clients. Or maybe you go for the really high volume thing and you're actually going to have other people advertising on your blog, and so therefore you'd earn advertising revenue. But these are the main ways that you can earn money through your blog, and I'm going to give you some examples of how I've done that as we go through. Now, one of the things that I've missed, and I've seen lots of other people miss, failing to understand who the target reader is, the target person is. Who are you actually writing for? Again, if you're doing it for the creative thing, you're writing for yourself. But if you're actually wanting to help someone, you need to know who your target reader is. And so, therefore, you need to know what's the age group that you're aiming for. Are you aiming for male and female, or is there a particular gender that you're aiming for? What type of income level do they have? What type of profession do they have? What location are they in? What problem do they have? What desire do they have? And what needs do they have? These are the kinds of things that you need to just, you don't need to spend a lot of time on it, but at least spend some time being very clear who it is that you are targeting with the blog. What interests do they have? What hobbies do they have? If someone, for instance, has an interest in yoga, then what other types of interests or hobbies do they have besides yoga? Because that might give you an idea about the other types of content or things that you can include on your blog. So it's really just, we call it creating an avatar of people. Now, once you've got all that clear and you're going to move forward with it, it's really worthwhile saying, well, who is my competition? Now, what happens in traditional business, we really do see the competition as competition. But online, and especially when it comes to blogs, very often that competition can turn into a collaboration and can then actually turn into a partnership of some type, which has definitely happened for me. So imagine that. Instead of it being a competition, you're in partnership with someone. You might even work on a project together as a result of starting out as competitors, which is actually really exciting, something I found exciting anyway. So how do you find your competition? Well, pretty much you go to Google and you type in your keyword that might represent the topic that you're interested in, and then you just type the word blog. So your keyword and the word blog, and what Google will return for you are the best blogs that are related to that keyword. And so that's the way you can go and find out the best blog or the best competition in your particular market. So I don't know, I just came up with yoga for the example. You would type in the word yoga blog, and then you would see what Google came back and showed you. Once you've identified these blogs, you've then identified the people who already have your readers. And this is really important. And you can see the bracket there I've got OPT, which stands for other people's traffic. If you're starting out from scratch and you've got no traffic, then one of the best ways to get traffic is to go somewhere where those people already are. And they are with your competition, which is why you then want them to become collaborators. Because if you can get your information in front of those people in a collaborative way, it's a great way to become more influential and to grow the popularity of your blog. So other people's traffic is one of the key concepts I really want to get across to you if you want to grow something quickly, is getting access to people who've already got your readers. And other bloggers are a great example of that. So basically, find the most influential blogs in your niche and subscribe to them. Hit the little RSS button and get their blogs on a regular basis. Or put your name and email in to make sure you sign up for the updates so you get regular updates, and then get to know these people. Literally, don't be embarrassed and hide behind your computer. Actually get to know them, and one of the best ways to do that is to comment on their content. So if they've left a blog post, at the bottom of a blog post there's very often a place where you can leave a comment in response to it. And of course all bloggers read the comments that people leave for them, and so if you leave a comment that is useful and contributes to their post, and you do it a few times, you'll get noticed by these people, and very often you can strike up a relationship with them, which is really fun. Now, it doesn't have to stop just with blogs, because you could go to iTunes or any other number of podcast directories, and you could say, is there anyone who's doing a podcast on the thing I'm interested in? Because that can be, number one, a great source of information for you in an area you're interested in, and secondly, could also be another great source of other people's traffic to send to your blog if you could make relationships with these. So search for podcasts in your particular niche or area. Go to YouTube and search for YouTube channels that are in your particular topic. You might find someone who's really prolific in putting out a lot of videos in your area. They might have, a couple of 100,000 views on their YouTube channel. So they'd be someone worthwhile getting to know if you wanted to promote your blog. Go along to Facebook and do a search for pages in your particular area and find out, is there a page on your topic? Again, we'll just stick with the yoga example, for instance. Is there a page where you can see there's a lot of people liking it, there's a lot of interactivity on the page? It could be a worthwhile place for you to begin to network and meet other people and promote your blog as well at the same time. If you want to get really technical with it, which is what we do, you can do a competitive analysis when it comes to Google and search engine optimization. But I won't really go into much depth on that at all because it does get kind of really technical. But it's a way of you understanding how you can get your blog featuring on the first page of Google for important keywords, is all I'll say about it. Okay, so you've got your functional rhythm. You've narrowed your brand down into something that you really feel you can move forward with. You've identified who your target readers are. And you've also looked at the competition and potentially who the collaborators are in terms of your blog. So now you need to figure out how your blog is going to be different from other people's blogs. Now, it doesn't have to be drastically different, but it would be good if it was somewhat different. You don't want to go out and just copy what everyone else is doing, because then you'd just be the same as them. You need to have some point of difference. And the point of difference can come in many different ways. So you might decide to have a slightly different focus on your blog, even though it's about the same topic, than someone else. So again, if we stick with yoga, you might choose to have a very specific focus about yoga that other people aren't focusing on, and therefore you'll be contributing something unique and different to that particular area. The type of blog that you have, the format of it, can also be a point of difference. You might decide that you're going to have really long blog posts. You might write blog posts that are 2,000 words or 3,000 words each blog post. You might actually just write very short blog posts on a very frequent basis, things like 200 or 300 words each, and that's it. Maybe you focus on all your posts being all about how to do something. So you're really providing education and solving problems for people. You might take a particular style that's a commentary on other people's content, which is kind of like being an editor. There might be a lot of other blogs that are doing great content, and you actually might find the top 3 or 4 bloggers, and you might provide commentary on their content and synthesize what they've said for other people. And that's actually really attractive, because now I don't have to read 3 or 4 other people's blogs. I can just read yours because you've done a commentary on it. It might be more like news, where you're giving updates. It might be that you get quite detailed and you might do summaries of research papers. So a lot of academics or professionals, this is a great option for them. How is your blog going to be different? You might write long posts, you might write short posts, how-to commentaries, news, research. You may choose to do a blog that is purely based on video only. Now, that's for those of you who want to get in front of a camera, but notice that this is video when it's working, and my head isn't on screen. So even though I've done a lot of head-to-camera video, you don't have to do head-to-camera video to use video on your blog post. So you might say, you know what, sitting around trying to write a blog post is going to be too hard for me, but I can easily do, put 5 slides together and do a presentation, and I'll use that as my blog post. You may do podcasts. You might do exposés. You might choose to write blog posts that are very positive, or you might choose to write ones that are very negative. I mean, I'm familiar with a particular blog that is incredibly negative and uses expletives every second word, and they get so much traffic and make so much money it's not funny. You may choose to do interviews with people, which is one of the things I'm doing on Influence Faculty. You may actually choose to have a blog that is purely photographs. So you might photograph the day or something and have a little comment about the photograph, but the whole draw card to the blog is the photograph and not the text. You might choose to be the expert, or you might choose to be what we call is the reporter, where you're not setting yourself up as the expert. You might just have a real passion about something, and you might go and interview all the other experts in the field, and that might be how you go ahead and get your content. So there are just so many ways for you to create content and create a point of difference in your area that I'd be surprised if you couldn't find a way that would suit you and suit your lifestyle. Okay, how else might you make it different? It might be to do with the frequency. I know someone who puts a lot of effort into writing very detailed blogs, and they only post 1 or 2 every month or so. But they're very detailed and they have a loyal readership because they develop, it's a very technical thing that they publish. You may have something where you put a news update out every day. You might change your target market slightly. That's how yours will be different. The personality that comes through in your blog. I've done formal. I've been there and done academia, and I've done trying to be scientific and speaking with professors. And in the end, I got sick of it because I'm just not that type of person. I'm a bit irreverent. I'm unconventional. I like a bit of shock factor, and I like to be having fun with everything I'm doing. So even though I've got quite a corporate-looking website, and what I'm doing I believe is incredibly high value and drawn on science, the whole personality I want to come through is fun and unconventional. And so that's the personality that comes through in what I do. And so that's what I'd encourage you to do. Otherwise, you won't have fun doing it. So you might choose to be the contrarian, always disagreeing with everything or finding the other point of view. You might have a very sarcastic point of view coming through what you do. It might be just really truthful, or you might have a blog where you really come through with a very loving, caring, and empathetic approach to the posts that you do, and that might attract a certain group of people that you really bond with. So really feel free to choose, what personality characteristics do I want to display through the blog. So having done all that, right, you're pretty much set at that point to go, right, now I'm going to start my blog. I pretty much know what I want to do, and I want to just start and get going. And so the next really important thing is the platform that you choose to have your blog on. Now, we're going to spend like a very, very small amount of time on this, like literally 10 or 15 seconds. The platform you should use, you can see on the picture there, is WordPress. And you can self-host that yourself. You can go to wordpress.com and get a blog there, but what you should really do is set up WordPress on your own domain name. So again, my blog is at influencefaculty.com, so I've bought that domain and I've then set up WordPress on that. Look, of the top 100,000 websites in the world, 20% of them now, or even more, use WordPress as the basic platform. It is a phenomenal platform, really useful, and that's basically what you should use as my recommendation. So if you don't know how to do it yourself, there's videos you can learn how to do it. If you're that kind of person, you can watch a YouTube video, how to set up and install a WordPress blog. There are a lot of really quite cheap themes around that you can use to create your blog. Where I'm at though, and with what I want to achieve, because I'm so sure about what I'm doing, and I'm mature now with my blog, I've paid a bucket load of money to get it designed to look exactly like I want it to be. So in the end, you do kind of get what you pay for. But the beauty with WordPress is you can start out very inexpensively, and then you can move into the more fancy stuff as you begin to get money, and then you begin to get clearer on exactly what you're doing. So you would buy a domain name that would be linked to your brand. So obviously you come up with a name for your brand or your blog. That's what you then need to buy as a domain name or something close to it. You might find that they're already taken, in which case you need to kind of get creative with what you might call it. But that's what you need to do. As I said, you use WordPress. It's self-hosted. That means you have it on your own server. One of the really good things about WordPress is that they've got an iPhone app, which is free, and so therefore you can use your iPhone or your iPad to actually update your blog from wherever you are, which is really, really convenient, because one of the things that you need to do if you're moving forward with a blog is make sure that you can actually do it, that it fits into your life. And if it doesn't fit into your life, then you won't do it, or you'll only do it for a month. So if you do any travel at all, sitting in a bus or a train, you don't even need your laptop. You can just use your iPad or your iPhone. I'm pretty sure WordPress would have apps for Androids and other phones as well. I completely apologize for not knowing anything about anything other than an Apple, because that is my absolute brand of choice. I'm in love with them. Look, Facebook is another platform that you would probably use to extend your blog content out there. 600 million or so people, whatever it is, on Facebook. I'm probably out of date with that too. It's probably 1 billion by now. But Facebook, another great platform to extend your blog. And then, of course, all these other ones as well, like Twitter and like Google Plus and like LinkedIn and Pinterest, especially if you've got a lot of images in your blog. iTunes is the other place, because you would use that for podcasts, and YouTube for videos. So you can see that while your blog is like the central hub of what you do, think of all these other sites as outreach. This is where you go and take your content to these other places so it can be discovered there. But the whole point is that people find it and make their way back to your blog. Okay, so they're the platforms you would need to get your head around. Start with your blog and then begin to get those other ones incorporated as you get more sophisticated. Now, in terms of the basic content you'll need on the blog, there is a difference between pages and posts. Posts are the things that you update on a regular basis with new content. A page is something that you essentially create, and then it really doesn't change over time. So examples of this would be sometimes the home page. Unless the home page is where you feature all your blog posts, then that would be changing. Your about page is really important. People still go and check out what you're all about. And on that page is where you really need to shine. Don't just have some boring stuff on there that you whack up. Share your vision, that really grandiose thing, so people can kind of get captured by your passion for the topic. Be really clear about what you stand for and what you stand against. Polarize people so that you say, well, these are my target audience, and this is who I'm targeting, and so this is what I stand for. So they're very clear about it. And point out why you're different. So if you actually have a look at this screenshot of Influence Faculty's About page, you can see that I hook people in by giving a definition of what influence and what faculty is, so people immediately kind of get intrigued by that. And then the very first thing that I've got on there is how we will help you. I don't say about us, this is who we are. Even though it's an about us page, I'm talking about how I will help the person who's reading the about page. So I can get them engaged, because that's what I want to do. I want to maximize their ability to influence, so I need to engage them. So again, if you want to find out how I've done it, go ahead to Influence Faculty and go to the About page and read it. Down the bottom, you'll see that I've got this statement here, what we believe and stand for. And this is very much like a platform of my values and what I believe and the way I go about living my life, which of course is consistent with the brand Influence Faculty. So again, go ahead and have a read through that, so that when you're setting a page up for your blog, you can use that as some kind of guide to model it off. I'm more than happy for you to do that. Of course, it needs to be your values, but again, have a look at it so you can see what I've done. On that About page, when a reader comes there, how you are going to benefit their lives. Be really clear about that. Establish your credibility, and if you've got qualifications, by all means have them on there so that people can feel comfortable with the site, that it's trustworthy. Tell them why they're going to benefit if they keep on coming back. Use social proof or testimonials in some way if you can to encourage people back. Now, I know that some people on this call are health professionals, and in some countries there's regulations around being able to use testimonials, but again, you want to use some form of social proof around your blog, even if it's people saying they like your blog as opposed to you as a professional. Just help people know that you're worthy, you're credible, that this is something worth their while. Of course, you'll need privacy and terms of service pages. A lot of people miss these, but if you're getting people to your site, and especially if you're capturing their name and their email address, you need to have this stuff published on your blog. So again, you can find those on my website there and have a look at what I've said on there and use that to model your privacy and terms of service documents. And of course, you're going to have blog posts on there. That's the whole point. Now, you can put your blog posts into categories. And that can be quite useful for Google to help understand what categories you talk about. And it's also useful for readers so they can search your website for the various categories that you might blog about. They can be categories that are quite closely related. So let's just say that you were in fitness. You might have a category on there about strength training, and you might have a different category there about cardiovascular, and you might have a different category on there about diet, but it's all related to fitness. You know, alternatively, you might have completely different categories on there as well. I mean, it's your blog, you're allowed to do what you want. Maybe you have a category on there about photography and about, maybe you're a lawyer and you have a category on there about updates to tax law or something like that. You can do whatever you want, it's your blog. Now, you don't have to be entertaining, but it's a good idea if you are entertaining, at least sometimes, because people want to be entertained. And definitely on social media and on blogs, the entertaining ones tend to get the biggest traction. But you don't have to be entertaining. You definitely want to be valuable, and you want to help people. People need to have learned something from their experience from you. So, you know, valuable and educational content is obviously what you want to do. Above all, you really need it to be emotionally engaging. There's a great book called Emotionomics. And again, the whole point is that if you want to have success with a blog, engage with people. So that means sharing your emotions, sharing stories that have happened to you, whether they're sad stories, maybe they're happy stories. I mean, you set the boundaries around what you want to share, but please, please make it emotionally engaging. Now, this one is something I do want you to take note of, because this is very prescriptive here in terms of what I want you to do. So the formula for writing your content doesn't always have to follow this, but would be good if it did. So the first thing you want to do when you develop your blog post content is what I call the deviation. That is, deviate people from what they are expecting. That can be by the headline that you use on your blog post. It could be the photograph or the image that you use. It could be how you start the video off. If you don't capture their attention straight away, then you will miss a lot of readers and you'll fail to influence them. And so you'll have done all this work to create a great blog post, and simply because you failed to capture their attention in the first place, they then don't go and consume your content. So always be thinking, what am I going to do to grab their attention? I call it a deviation. Now, the next thing you do once you've captured their attention is tell them what you've got for them, and be really clear about it. So if you think about the way I started this webinar tonight, was I had a big screen that said on air. You know, so again, it was red. Red is something we're going to capture. It's only a very subtle thing, but it got your attention. The webinar's about to start. And then very quickly I got into, this is what I'm going to cover in the webinar. I don't think I had my slides shown for some reason, so even though you might not have seen that, that was the gist of it. Then you go on to tell them how, this is really important, how what you've got for them is going to help them. And this is a classic error that professionals make. Because I know there's a lot of professionals on the call tonight, if you're technically advanced and you've got a lot of expertise in your area, it's very easy for you to focus on the features of what you do. Here's what you've got for them. What you need to do is then say, and it's going to help you in this way. So whenever you're thinking about writing your content, one of the most useful things I was ever taught by a copywriter was saying, if I say a certain sentence, for example, like, let's do a camera. If I say the camera has a 2496 GIT processor, to you that might mean something, but it might not mean anything to anyone else. And so what you could then say is, which means it takes really good photographs. And so the test that I use is, can you say which means at the end of the sentences or the paragraphs that you write? Because if you could say which means and still say something else, it means that you haven't broken it down into the benefits for people who are reading it. So it's really, really important that you spell out for people what the benefits are for them, because that's what they're there for, right? To get benefit from it. And then the other really important thing, like I said, all of these are important, is at the end, you want people to do something with what you've just taught them. So never finish off a blog post without asking someone to do something. So that could be asking them to go and actually use what you've taught them and give you some feedback about how it worked for them. Or it might be that you ask them to like the post or leave a comment beneath. Or it might be that you ask them to share it on Twitter or Facebook. Or it might be that you ask them to put their name and email in to get your free report or whatever it is that you might create for them. Or it might be that you ask them to consider buying a product, which is the way you then make your blog profitable. And so that's why you need to get into the hang of always asking the person to do something at the end of what you've just created for them, so they go ahead and do it. Don't expect them to just figure it out for themselves. You really need to spell it out. So here's the formula. Deviate them. Tell them what you've got for them. Tell them how it's going to help them. Then you might actually give them the content. And then at the end, always finish with, here's what I want you to do now. If you follow that formula, you'll have far more influence, and that's the key to having a profitable blog. Content type. If we have a look at this, here again is a screenshot from the Influence Faculty blog, and what you can see here is that I've got text, I've got video, and I've got an image on there. So I'm using a lot of multimedia. So if we just look at text for a minute, you could just have a text, and that would be an example of a blog post, but you can also turn that into a PDF document, and you could also, as I've mentioned before, turn that text eventually into a book that you can publish. You can use images, obviously, in your blogs, and I really highly recommend you do that. I mean, if you have a look at the image I've got there of the masculine hand with a baby's hand, I should have actually used the image where I put some text on it, and it basically said, with increased influence comes increased responsibility. And a whole lot of people resonated with that, and it was great content that I put out, even though it was just one image with some text on it. And you can see over there, to the right there, is the mind map of this particular presentation, which I am going to email you all tonight afterwards, so you've got a copy of that. Again, great content that you can put on the blog. It's imagery and people like it. So again, photos, graphics, infographics, which are a graphic that just conveys a lot more information in them. You can use presentation slides. Like tonight, I've created these slides. You could use those as images on your blog. And also mind maps. Now, you can go and buy mind mapping software, and you can get free mind mapping software as well. I think if you just go into Google and type free mind map software, you'll find it. So Google's a great resource, obviously, to find all that sort of stuff because you can create great content quickly using that. Now, another thing that you can do if you want to get a bit more advanced is turn your blog posts into podcasts. And the way you do that is either with an audio, or you do a video and you strip the audio out and you turn it into an MP3, and then you can upload that as a podcast to various sites. I use iTunes for that purpose, right? So I'm kind of putting my content everywhere so that it can be found everywhere. Here is the actual, what it looks like at Apple in the iTunes preview there. So you can see it's the Influence Faculty podcast. I've got 2 episodes up there, and over the year that's going to increase. And the people I'm getting on are really phenomenal. So again, just as by way of self-promotion here, please subscribe to it or make sure you're on the list, because each of these interviews come out are with really incredible people, and you'll get a lot of value out of it as you listen to it as the year progresses. It's great branding too to be there with a podcast right there with the Apple branding all around you. So because I love Apple so much, it makes me feel nice, warm, and fuzzy. So here's a particular blog post you can see on there, and you can see that there's a video playing, right? So I was taking the screenshot. So video is a great thing. It's really engaging, and people like it, and they watch it. And you can, of course, include text on the blog post as well. Or some people just have videos. That's all they have. So that's the type of content you can use. What I do, of course, is upload all my videos to my YouTube channel, and there's the picture of it there. So again, you can see how I'm using my blog as the hub, but I'm spreading this content out to other avenues for marketing and promotion. Okay, so we've gone through a lot so far, and now we're at the point where you're thinking, right, how am I going to find out what to actually write about? Okay, Nick, it's great. You've told me I can make videos. Good on you. You've told me I can do graphics. That's great. I just don't know what to write about. Well, Google is a great place for you to find content. So if you go along to Google and you type in the particular area you're in, I've already given you the example before of doing yoga and searching for blogs. You'll find an incredible amount of content about yoga on these blogs, and you can actually comment on that. You can use that as inspiration to write your own stuff. So use Google as a great way to get ideas for content. Now, that involves you having to go to Google and look for stuff. But once you've done that, you can subscribe to people, especially if it's blogs, you can subscribe to people's RSS feeds so that their content then comes to you instead of you having to go and find it, which is a big, big time saver. I won't go into a lot of detail about RSS. If you want to look it up, there's YouTube videos that do great explanations, far better than I can give. All I'll point out here is a little app that I found for the iPad and the iPhone, and there'll be similar ones for other devices. This one's called Reader, and it's a really beautiful little app that displays your RSS reads for you. So again, for those of you not familiar, just quickly, instead of you having to go to someone's blog to see if they've put any new content out, you subscribe to their blog, and then every time they update it, you get notified through this little app called Reader that they've put new content up. So you can imagine how time efficient this becomes, right? You might schedule a Monday morning to look at the content that you're going to do for your blog. You just open up this little app, and any content that's been published by the blogs that you subscribe to will all be there, and you can have a read through it and use that as inspiration for what you're going to blog about. Okay, just another little tool here. Many of you will be familiar with Evernote. It's a fantastic tool. It goes across all these different platforms, and I use it as the place to keep notes on what I'm going to blog about. So any ideas I get, I store them in Evernote. If I see any news articles or any websites I visit and I want to remember them, I use Evernote to do that. So again, if you don't know about Evernote or you haven't really explored it, it is a fantastic free tool. Go and check it out. You'll find it really helps organize you and saves you time for blogging. Of course, you're going to need a resource to actually write your content. So obviously a computer or a tablet. I use my laptop and my iPad to do the content. I don't do the content on the iPhone, it's just too small, but both of those things are just fine for creating the content. For creating audio, there's a gazillion apps that you can use. I use one called HT Recorder on the iPhone. I think it's about $5. And it is just a brilliant little app because it's really good at audio, but what it also does is allows you to send that audio file to another folder elsewhere. So really useful to be able to record interviews. So you could sit with someone somewhere, turn this on, put it on the table, have a discussion with them, turn that discussion into an interview, you could edit it, and there's your content for the blog post. So it's a really good app to use, but anyone will do, right? That's just the one I use. When you've got your audio, you then need to figure out how to edit out the ums and the ahs. And if I'm completely honest with you, every now and then I have to edit out some rather extreme expletives because sometimes you keep getting it wrong. You let a few words fly, which you don't want your readers or listeners to hear, so you have to go and edit them out. Audacity is a great program. It's free, and it's where you can do all that type of editing if that's the kind of thing you want to get into. Of course, if you're on Mac, you can just import it directly into GarageBand and use that as a way to edit your interviews. Another great way to get audio content is through Skype. We use this all the time. Of course, Skype's free, so you can have conversations with people, and as long as you record those conversations, they then become audio content that you could use for your blog. I'm on a Mac, so I use a little plugin for Skype called Call Recorder. And any of these resources I mentioned, by the way, I'll include them on the blog post I put up so you'll have access to them. So Call Recorder means that if I'm on a call with someone, I can just hit the little red button and it records it for me, and then I've got the recording of it, which is really useful. And if you're on a PC, one of the most popular ones is a little app called Pamela, which again plugs into Skype and turns it into an audio recording tool for you. The Macs now come also pre-built with a thing called Podcast Publisher, which pretty much enables you to go in there and record podcast, audio, or video, and pretty seamlessly integrates with iTunes. So you can get your podcasts up pretty quickly from just using that little inbuilt app. It's just become so incredibly easy compared to what it was even 4 or 5 years ago when I first started. So it's a great time for you to get started, really. Now, if you want to beef it up a bit, but it allows you to have up to 1,000 people on a webinar, which we've done in the past. Again, you can record it and you can have video. But there's other tools out there as well you can use, like Google Hangouts. Now, I mean, they're free, so you could use something like that to record content if you wanted to. All right, so what about getting images? Do you have to buy stock images? Now, I've got a lot of stock images in this presentation, but sometimes having authentic images is actually even more attractive. So of course, just use your camera. The images that you can take on that are absolutely adequate. And there's a whole lot of really cool apps that you can get for the different devices that really give you incredible photo quality and various effects that you can use. And it's worth putting the effort into developing at least one really good image for each blog post, because it's what catches people's eyes. They can share it on Pinterest, which is all about images. It shares on Facebook really well. And I put the time into developing an image for every blog post. Sometimes you actually want to capture the actual screen that you're looking at on your computer. I've shown you screenshots of my website tonight, and that's because I use screen capture tools. There's one that's a paid one for PC called Snagit. There's a free one called Skitch. There's a lot of them around. There's shortcuts on your computer. I think you can take screenshots anyway. I like to take screenshots and edit them to be able to put arrows or text on them to enhance them. So that's why you get these other tools. And once you've got your image, then you need to edit them often. And you can go for the big guns and use something like Photoshop, but there's a lot of other free tools around you can use to edit your photo. In fact, I just discovered this on Google+. So here's my Google+ stream, one of them. And you can see there's a photo there where I'm giving a presentation at a business event. And if I double clicked on that photo, you can see what happens here. It opens up and you can see at the top there's a thing that says Edit Photo. And so when I go ahead and click on that edit function, look at all the things that you can do just within Google Plus to edit your photos. I've selected the text option, so you can look at all these different fonts. You can add text to the actual image, but there's a whole lot of basic editing functions as well where you can enhance the photo, make it black and white, put effects on it. You can draw on it and a whole range of things just there within Google Plus, and then you can publish the photo in Google Plus. Of course, then you can just grab a copy of it from Google Plus, and then you can use that on your blog post. So there's so much you can do, and it's all free, that really there's great tools for you to use, just freely available on the net. Okay, content tools, video. Right, I'm one of these people who keeps buying new cameras, so my drawer is full of all these cameras, and you know, the last 4 or 5 videos I've shot, I've done it all on my iPhone 5, and I've actually edited them on my iPhone 5 and published them from my iPhone 5 without even needing to use a computer. And so what you're looking at here is a picture of iMovie as it appears on the iPhone. And, you know, it takes a bit of getting used to, but really what you can do now is so phenomenal that, yes, it takes time. You need to get the skills to learn how to do it. But imagine getting those skills, you could then have these incredible tools at your disposal to create great content for your blog. Of course, a webcam is a typical way for you to capture video. Most computers come with them built in these days. And you also want to be able to edit the video or even take video footage of your screen. So that's called screencasting. And there's two great applications for that. One's called ScreenFlow, which is for the Mac, and one is called Camtasia for PC. And there's another, I think this one is a free one at screen.com, so you can go check that out. So what they do is they capture the video of your screen as you're using it. So that way you can do tutorials and you can show people what you're doing on the internet or on your computer screen, and it becomes great content. Once you've created your video content, you often need to edit it. And this is where having something like ScreenFlow, which I already showed you, is phenomenal, because you can do all this incredible editing just within ScreenFlow and you're done. You can then output it. In fact, with ScreenFlow, once you've finished editing, you can export the video directly to YouTube or Vimeo, and there it is straight away. So it's a great tool. Camtasia 8 and above, similar. If you're actually using video software, Sony Vegas is one for the PC, or if you've got a Mac, then iMovie is brilliant for editing anyway, and that just comes freely with your Mac. One other little app that I would recommend for you, it might be about 30 bucks, it's called iSky Soft Video Editing, and what it helps you do is convert video files. So if you're on a Mac, very often you need to convert your video from a .movie file or a .mov to an MP4, and that app can do it. If you're not interested in any of that, then don't worry about it, but if you are a bit of a tech buff and you like it, then iSky Soft is good for you. And another one's called Handbrake, which can help you compress movie files down to something manageable. So for instance, I might do a movie and it's 1 gigabyte. I put it through Handbrake and it comes out at 300 megabytes, which means it's going to be quicker to load up to the internet and just quicker for people to download. But that's all getting a bit techie. Okay, so content topics. Here's the thing, it might sound obvious, but a good checklist must be relevant, and the key thing about it is it must have what they call killer headlines. Because here's the thing, I said it before, if you create great content but you fail to have a great headline, then you'll miss out on all these people reading it because they won't be hooked to read it. So it's worth putting the time in to think of a great headline. I don't always think of great headlines at all, but I try to. In the time I've got, it's one of the things I try to focus on, something that's going to get your attention. When you're writing your headlines, a great idea is to try starting each word with a capital letter, as it says there, and always directly address your reader's pain or their desire in the headline, just so they know what it's about. Don't try and be cute or arty or intelligent with it. Just be very, very straightforward with it to capture their attention. Don't talk about yourself or your logo. What I want you to notice about Influence Faculty website is how small I've made the logo, because it's not about me. It's really about how I can help you, the people coming to the website. So the focus has to be on them, not on yourself. And don't use trickery or false advertising to just get people to click on it, because even though they might click on a subject line or read a blog post because of what you've put in heading, if it turns out that it was just to get them in, then they won't come back. So I'm sure I don't really need to tell you that. Here are some headline starters. These have been tried and true and tested. In fact, you've probably seen a lot of them around because they're overused. But again, if you don't know how to start a headline, these are just some tips for you to get going. So headlines that start with discover how, or the 7 secrets of, or how to make your whatever it is. The biggest problem facing yoga instructors trying to build a class, new class, or whatever it might be that you want to talk about. Are you making these mistakes with your whatever? Free book, 5 insider secrets show you how. The funny thing is, these are very direct mail type of headlines, but the fact is that they work. When you test them, they get more people to open them than if you don't use this type of headline. But look, they're only a small sample just to get you started. Content topics must be share-worthy. If people share it, then that's what helps you get greater influence and greater recognition. You want to try and focus on quality over quantity if you can. And if you're stuck for content topics, here's a great idea. Go to Amazon, to the Amazon bestsellers list in your topic of interest. Look at the best-selling books in that topic. Look at the chapter topics that they have in those books. And right there, you've got the types of topics that you know people are interested in. And so that can be a great source of inspiration for you when you're trying to figure out what on earth you're going to write about in the area that you're looking to write about. So the way to find that is if you just went to Google and typed Amazon bestsellers yoga book, for example, it's going to take you right to the page and you'll be able to look at it. So very easy to find this information out. Another great idea for topics is to do interviews with experts. That's definitely something I'm doing on Influence Faculty, and it's fantastic. How-to topics, I've said before, is a great one. And another good one you can do is best of type topics. So you might do best of, again, if it's yoga, best of the yoga types of yoga that there are to do. You might do best of yoga instructors, or best of fitness instructors, or best of paleo diet breakfasts, or whatever it might be. But any kind of bests of are the kind of things that attract people as an idea of what to do your content on. Content schedule. It'd be great if I had a content schedule. I do now, but it's one of the first times I have, although I've always advised people to do it. If you can sit down and actually plan what you're going to do over 12 months, it gives you a sense of what you're doing, and it helps draw you forward through the plan. So it helps with your persistence levels. If you don't have a plan, then you can go out all gung-ho, and after 2 months, because you don't have a plan, it kind of fails by the wayside. Whereas if you've got a plan and you know what to do, you're more likely to do it. So I would sit down and actually write down, what are we in? We're in February, so I'd go March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February on a sheet of paper, and actually write down what content you would talk about in each of those months. It's a great way to plan. Another thing you can do is what we call industry event jacking. So what that means is you are in your industry, so you know what kind of events happen throughout the year in your industry. And what you want to do is plan to hijack the attention that's happening at that particular time, hijack that as a way to get eyeballs to your blog. So let's just say you're in an industry and there's an industry event like a ball, or there's an awards night for your industry. Well, if you know that that's what's going to happen, then you would blog about it and you would comment on it and you would send it all around, and so people are going to come and read it because it's in their awareness, okay? So another thing you could do is, and this comes to making your blog profitable, is actually planning which products you are going to promote throughout the 12-month period. If you know what you're going to promote, then you don't have to come up with it each month. If you've got your own products already, then you might have a product promotion schedule. If you don't have your own products, then you can promote other people's products that are in alignment with your values. And I wouldn't need to say this to you, but it goes without saying that anything you promote, you should stand behind and should be very valuable to the people who you're promoting it to. If you do that, then people will really trust you and they will take your recommendation and buy products that you recommend. But it pays to have a product promotion schedule. Another thing you can do is just what we call newsjacking. So whatever is currently in the news, if you're following that, you can definitely put a blog post out about it, and therefore, because it's in people's awareness, they'll come along and read your blog, and then they discover all your other content. So these are just ideas of how you can attract people to your blog. Now, you've done all this work, you've planned your schedule, you know what your brand is, you know what your content is, you've figured out how to use your phone and your whatever it is. If you don't promote your content, it won't go anywhere. Even if it's really, really good content, you have to promote it. You have to know how to promote it and accept that this is what you need to do. I'm going to start with guest blogging as one of the quickest ways to promote your content. So guest blogging involves when you are the guest on someone else's blog, or when you host a guest on your blog. Now, the reason this is good links back to what I said before about other people's traffic. If you searched for another blog in your particular niche, and it's already an established blog, they've already a lot of readers, and you were to offer to write a really good quality piece of content for them, then very likely they'll accept it and they'll publish it, because they're always looking for content to put on their blog because they want people to come back. So if you do that, then very likely what they'll say at the bottom, they'll say this blog post was written by your name, to check out more about this person, and then they'll have a link back through to your blog. So you can see how this is a great way to get their traffic to come to your blog. And the way you do it is, first of all, by serving them. So that's the way you do it. The other version, of course, is to invite someone to contribute a blog, one of their content pieces to your blog, because when they do that, they're very likely to promote it anyway, because they want people to see the content that they've written. So you be the guest or you get a guest on is a great way to think about how you might go about promoting your blog, especially when you're starting out. That's what I've done with mine. Contributing to another guy's blog post. I've half written the blog post, and there's a professor of behavioral therapy from Europe who's actually writing a guest blog post for me. So, it works. That people respond. They love it. So it's a good suggestion for you to do that. The other way, of course, to promote your content is to comment on other people's blogs. We talked about that before, but again, I'm just framing it now as a real idea for you in terms of promoting your blog, is how important it is to comment and interact with other bloggers, okay? So being part of that social structure. And then, of course, you can then promote it to all these other places like Facebook, YouTube, iTunes, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, Pinterest, Instagram, and forums. Now, if you're not already on all these places, don't get overwhelmed. Just choose one of them and go and do it and begin to build it up. But you do need to understand that you do need to promote, otherwise your content won't be found. Another great way to promote it is through press releases. You can do paid press releases like I do, or there are a lot of free press release sites that you can use as well. Just be aware that you get what you pay for. So if you go to a free press release site, your content will then become surrounded by all the really spammy, crappy stuff there is on the internet, because that's where they send all their stuff as well, to the free PR sites. So if you want to have your content associated with better quality content, then go to a paid service like PRWeb. Another way you can promote your blog is through a webinar. So what's actually happened is, the other day I thought, spur of the moment thing, I really want to let people know about how to start a blog. And at the same time, I've used my blog as an example. And so therefore, I've been able to promote my blog to you guys listening tonight through doing a webinar. And so, you know, I've had to spend hours preparing this webinar for you. I'm now here doing this. And I do it because I'm passionate about it and I love it. But I also get the secondary effect of having promoted my blog. So you're actually seeing this in process right now. You're witnessing how this works. If you wanted to get your blog promoted to more traditional media, here's two sources for you. Now, one's called SourceBottle. What that is it's a website you can go and register for, and journalists and people who are writers for magazines, when they're looking for experts, they actually put it out on this website that they're looking for an expert in a certain area. So again, let's just say you're a professional in practice, you're a health professional, and you register for this. You might see an email come through that says, hey, we're looking for someone who knows about neck pain. Do you want to contribute? In which case you can respond, and you might get to write an article for a magazine or a newspaper. And then, of course, that would then link back to your blog, and it's a way for you to do promotion. So SourceBottle is one of those. And another one is called Help a Reporter Out. So Harrow, that's another one that you can use, and it's pretty sure that's more US-based. That's kind of general promotion. Now let me give you a structured way to do a campaign around launching a blog. And whether you're starting a new blog or you've got one and you want to revitalize it, this same process applies, okay? So let's go through it. Build early awareness about the fact that you're going to launch or relaunch your blog. Start to tell people about it. Let your best clients know about it. Send an email out to people to say, I'm going to be doing this. It's coming up. You know, keep a lookout from it. Because when you tell people, you use your social structure to kind of pull you forward to do it. I mean, if I hadn't committed to doing this webinar tonight, I wouldn't have produced this content and gone ahead and done it. So telling other people about it and committing to something is a great way to pull you forward. Write 5 to 10 blog posts and publish them on the blog before you launch, so that when people come for the first time, you've already got some great content on there for them to consume. If you launch with just one blog post and it's the first one, then when they get there, they read it, there's nothing else for them to consume. And at the end of this presentation, I'm going to show you some statistics are really, really impressive that will really drive this point home. So hang around for that, because you'll see the importance of what I'm showing you here. When you're figuring out which of the 5 to 10 posts you should write, make one of them a welcome post. So when people come, they are welcomed, and you introduce what your blog is about and really spell it out for people. You can write a blog post that is a "this is what we stand for" post. In order to make work easy for you, if you've already spent some time crafting a message for your about page, which is what you stand for and what you stand against, then you can actually just rephrase that in a blog post and publish that as well. And so therefore you're kind of using the content twice in a different way. Consider publishing a post that's a really helpful, useful post for people. Teach them something. Put your best content out. So when they get there, they're really benefited by the fact that they've visited your blog. Create a blog post that's giving a comment on your industry to show that you're a thought leader or an opinion leader, or at least you have got an opinion about your industry, because people will read that and they'll be interested by it. Produce another educational post and put an inspirational post in there about your vision as well. That they're an example of the kinds of posts you can write before you launch, because they will really grab when they come along. Definitely set a launch date or a relaunch date and stick to it and tell people that you're going to do it. And then invite people on that day to come along and check your blog out. Make a bit of an event out of it. Send out a whole bunch of emails to everyone you can think of saying, I've just launched, please come and check out the blog. There's a great article here. You can read one on this, you can read one on that, and direct them to the content on your blog. Announce it on social media. If you're on Facebook, announce it to everyone and beg and plead people who like you to come along and read your blog and give you a bit of support. And that includes family, friends, colleagues, and importantly, influencers. So the other blogs that you've been subscribing to, there's no reason why you couldn't contact them and say, hey, look, I've just launched a blog in a similar niche to yours. It's a bit different because of this way. I'd love it if you came and checked it out and gave me your feedback. Because if you can get some other people coming to your blog and checking it out, you'd be surprised how quickly you could then get traffic and develop a name for yourself just by doing that. So very, very powerful to do that last one. You could announce your blog launch with a press release like we talked about. You could do a guest blog, an interview, a webinar. You could do all of these things, plan all of them to happen to create the massive or the maximum amount of buzz for people coming to your blog. Now you've got all these people coming to your blog. The last thing you want is for them to all go away again and you have to spend the same amount of effort just to get them back. So it's really important that you provide a way for you to capture their contact details so that you can keep in contact with them and let them know when you produce more content. So the two main ways to do that is through an RSS feed where people can click on a button and subscribe to your blog through their RSS reader. Personally, I find a lot of people don't really know how to do that or use that. And so, you know, that's no good because if they don't use it, they're not going to use that tool. So the other main way is through email subscribers. That's what you want to do. And the two email platforms that I've put there are the ones I'm most familiar with because I've used them extensively. One's called MailChimp, which is mostly free, and the other one's called Infusionsoft, which is actually a whole e-commerce solution and is paid. But there's a lot more. You don't have to use those two at all. You can do your research and find out which email platforms to use. But MailChimp's a great one because it's free. And you can see on this particular image, you can see that on that blog post, which is called To Be Your Best, Start Here, which I highly recommend you go and read actually, because that video that I created there was done on the iPhone with no need for computers at all. It goes through about a minute and a half the video. It's got some inspirational words on it, so go ahead and check it out. And also notice that I'm asking for people's name and email. I've got a free report that people can get by putting the name and email in, and that appears on every single page. So every time someone comes to my website, I'm providing a way for them to interact with me and get some content from me. And so that's what you're wanting to do on your blog as well. Now, why would someone give you their email address, okay? Because aren't we all getting enough email? What I can assure you is that if you provide value to people and you're useful, and then they will subscribe and they will enjoy getting your emails and they will open them. We've proven that over and over again. So even though there's a deluge of emails coming in, when you provide value for people, they'll open your email. So you need to give them a reason why they should subscribe. So obviously, if you give them something away for free, then they'll subscribe to it. If you let them know the kind of content that you're going to deliver to them on a regular basis, they'll subscribe because it's useful to them. And so part of what you need to do in terms of building relationship with the people who come to your website. This is especially true if you're using your blog as a way to grow your professional practice, because the people who come to your blog could very then likely become your next client or patient. And so therefore you want to begin a dialogue with them that's valuable for them, so they get to know, like, and trust you, and therefore more likely to become your client. So you can extend the way that you serve them beyond the blog and right through into your other business. So now you've got people coming to the blog, they're consuming it, they're even signing up to your email list. You need to monitor what's actually going on. And the way you can do that is with Google Analytics, which basically track exactly what's going on in your blog. Here is some analytics from the Influence Faculty blog for the first month. So I launched it on about the 6th of January. And you can see that 951 people visited the site in the first month. And you can see the breakdown here that 1.26% of people came through search. That means a very small percentage went into Google, typed something in, and found the website that way. The majority came from direct traffic. So that's me emailing people and saying, hey, come and check out my blog. And 41% came through referral traffic, which mostly was Facebook. So you can see the importance of social media there. It's almost half the traffic to this blog in the first month was from Facebook. Now, if we go to February, you can see there's been a slight change. The search traffic has gone from 1% to coming up to 10%, 9% there, of people actually finding my blog in Google and coming to my blog that way. So that's a great result for me in the second month. 787 people visited it, and the referral and direct traffic were still up there. So I want to grow that so that that blue bit becomes much bigger. I want 50, 60% of people finding my blog through search in about 6 to 8 months. That'd be great if that were happening. Don't expect to see it. This is just to give you an example of what Google Analytics can show you. This is showing how people navigate my website. So the top box at the top left, that's the home page. So a lot of people come into that home page, and then you can see where they go after that. You know, it shows you the whole flow of where these people are going and consuming content. So this is so important because it gives you feedback over what content people are interested in and what content they're not interested in, so that you can give them more of what they want. Right? So a great way to maximize your influence is by using data to direct what you do. Another great way to monitor what's going on for you is through Google Alerts. Now, this is a free service, takes all of 30 seconds to set up. If you go to Google and just Google Alerts, it'll take you through to a page, and you can monitor Google search for your brand and your name. So if you were to do a Google Alert for your brand name, so if I went in and I said, I want Google Alert for Influence Faculty, what Google will do is every time Google finds an instance of Influence Faculty, Google will email me to let me know. So it's a great way for you to track. If anyone mentions your brand or your name, Google will alert you to it as soon as they index it. Twitter does the same thing through a thing called Twilert. You can go, and so if anyone mentions you on Twitter, you get notified. So really important to monitor that. Coming through to monetizing the website, right? Actually making profit from it. Here is the reality, folks. If you do not promote products on your website that help people, then you won't be able to monetize your website. And so in order to be profitable, you have to find things that you can recommend for people, and you have to do it with sincerity and really do something that helps them so that it benefits them and they're happy to buy from you. And you find that if you do that, if you give value to people, they're more than happy to take your recommendation and give things a shot. So one of the ways I've done that is through a book. So I first wrote a book called Anxious But Happy. I self-published that book, and I set it up on a website with a blog, and I sold a lot of that book because people were looking for this kind of information, and they bought the book as a PDF, they downloaded it. I subsequently then chose to publish the book through Amazon and also through the Kindle, and so I did a whole relaunch of that, and again, well over 1,000 people downloaded the book, and then that's turned into some other revenue as well. So that's just one way, okay, of using a book and using a blog and a website to monetize it. One of the other things I'm developing for Influence Faculty is a video course, and it's going to be much like what you've been watching now. It's going to be slides. It's called High Velocity Influence, and it's all about teaching people how to massively increase their ability to influence others. And so that'll be a digital product. That'll be all videos that'll be available for sale through the website. Now, if you don't have your own product, which is what most people don't have, there's nothing stopping you selling other people's product. And I've done a lot of that over the last few years, and a lot of it's been software. So I just was trying to think of one example I could show you. There's a bit of software called Market Samurai, which is really, it's a bit of technical software that helps people search for keywords on Google so they know how to optimize their blog and their website and their videos. It's a fantastic piece of software. So I'd found it so useful. I mean, it was turning a week's worth of work and reducing it to a few hours of work. So it was a very valuable bit of software. And I did a video recommending that software. I put the video on YouTube, which is what I've just shown you here. And then I put that video onto my blog. And every time someone bought the software, I got paid a commission. You can see there's only 707 views on that blog, but that's turned into a few $1,000s of commission from me doing one video and one blog post about it. So this highlights the fact to you that you don't have to have 20 or 30,000 hits and all that sort of stuff to make money and make your blog profitable, so long as you find really good products that you can recommend to people and you make a few sales each month. One of the other key ways that I've used my blog to earn money is to actually promote myself as a speaker and to run events. And even though I haven't had massive volumes of traffic, definitely I've had examples of me speaking and the kind of content that I've put on my blog. This is when I had it on the nicklucas.com blog, which I'm actually closing down. But a lot of the speaking engagements that I got and got paid for all came from people coming to the blog, identifying that I was the kind of person that they were happy to have speak, and then gave me the opportunity to have a speaking gig. Now, some of those included me being paid to go and speak. Others of those speaking engagements were me going and speaking and then making products available for people to buy at the end of my presentation. And both of those ways ended up making quite a lot of money. So just to give you an insight into that, for those of you who are interested in public speaking, in the first year that I did that and started doing public speaking, I think I made just over about $250,000 from speaking, most of that coming from people who found me on my blog or recommended to my blog and got to judge for themselves through looking at videos whether I was someone wanting to speak. So, you know, that's an example of using a blog to, you know, get speaking or get consulting or coaching and all that sort of stuff. So blogs are so good at doing that, as you've seen me describe tonight. Highly recommend you get into it. Now, I said at the beginning I was going to give you some stats. I promised today on Facebook that I would show you the top 10 landing pages in the first 2 months of Influence Faculty with bounce rates of less than 3%. And here they are. The top page there with just the / number one, that's the home page. And you can see that that did, as expected, get the most amount of traffic with 430 visits. But the blog, people, like 174 people landed directly on the blog. 85 people landed directly on a specific blog post. The rest of them are all blog posts except for products and about. And so the key thing I want you to understand here is that people in the past used to see their website as the homepage as being the most important page. But what you can see is that a lot of people came through to Influence Faculty without going directly to the homepage. They came to all these other pages. And what I want you to notice is, if you look at the columns across, look at the pages per visit. So on average, the people who came in through the homepage then went and visited 13.9 pages on my website. People who came in through the blog visited 15 pages. People who came to using questions to resolve conflict, 8.25 pages. And you can see the minutes that they are on the website. They're consuming the content there for a long period of time. And if I hadn't have prepared these blog posts before I launched, I wouldn't have got that kind of engagement. And so this is just the proof to you that it's worth putting the time to create a whole series of posts before you launch or before you relaunch, so that when all the people come, they've got that content to consume. I've gone through a lot of content. I'm pretty much going to wrap up now, but what I wanted to do was just give you a last bit of information about what it really takes to have an influential blog that's profitable, and also tell you about a resource that I have found for you that I want to recommend for you. So if really all you did was come along tonight was to get a whole bunch of technical information and this was a replacement for something on TV, then you can feel free to go on. If you're not interested in starting a blog at all or launching your blog, then this next bit really isn't for you. But if you are at all interested in learning how to start a blog and you're seriously considering doing it, then I'd just encourage you to stay around for about the next 5 minutes as I go through this bit. The fact is, if you want to have an influential blog that is profitable, then you actually do need a change in your current behavior, because without the change in the behavior, you won't get the result that you want. And as I pointed out at the beginning, what you need to do to help you change that behavior is me, which is your own motivation and your skills, we, which is your social structure and who you associate with, and then space, which is your environment and what's in your space. You need all of those three things in alignment to enable your success with this. If you don't have them in alignment, you're going to find it really tough. And so what I would normally like to do is offer a course or something like that to help you go ahead and do this, but I don't have that in place. A lot of the clients I work with long term, and it's really big projects, like their whole business and developing their digital products for them and a whole range of things. So it's not really something that I offer at this level. But I didn't want to leave you high and dry. I went and found this resource for you. So let me tell you all about Corbett. Now Corbett, I actually got to know Corbett through the blog network that I'm a part of, and he is a 6-figure blogger. So someone who started blogging last decade and has a number of blogs now, and they've all done 6 figures. So he's definitely someone who knows a lot about how to do all this. His current blogs get about 200,000 visitors per month across his main blogs. The key thing I like about Corbett is his whole thing. He's got a gratitude attitude. He's got what we call that abundance mentality, really sharing, really caring, and community focused. He's really keen to help other people with their blogs get started and see them be really successful. He consults to many bloggers. That's basically how I found out about him, through my word of mouth network, because I was looking for a resource for those of you who want to do something with this, and because I don't have that resource, I wanted to find one for you. Now the thing is, he's put together a really excellent online course to help you, and it's brilliant. Let me just tell you quickly about it. If you want to find out about it, you go to influencefaculty.com/start blog. That's where you'll find all out about it. But let me just tell you, it's a 13-week email course, and it takes you step by step through the process of how to do all this. So the fact is, if you do this in 90 days, you will have launched your blog, which is really exciting. It's a step-by-step action plans. There's 8 hours of video, so it's not overwhelming. And really, I've seen that there's a list of all these bulleted points, like now do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. That's all you need to do for this week. And then next week, you do the next action plans. And the way it works is it leads you through the whole process, and 90 days, you will have a blog. There's a couple of bonus case study video interviews with some other 6-figure bloggers. And this is really important part of the whole we thing, because you need to immerse yourself and get surrounded by other people who are doing this, so that it lifts your level of belief around what's possible and just fuels your passion for it, because without that, you're then kind of on your own and you just let it go and it doesn't work. Now, the beautiful thing about this, which is why I'm so happy to recommend it to you, is that he actually allows you to evaluate it for 60 days, which is almost, it's 2/3 of the time. And if you don't like it, if you give it away, if you're not into it, then basically you get a full money back guarantee with that. And the whole thing's only 97 bucks, which is the other reason why I'm so happy to be able to recommend it to you. So basically, 97 bucks, step-by-step program. If you're not into it, after 60 days, you can just get full money back thing going on there. Now, the other really important thing about this is because they've got a community of people doing this, they'll actually promote your blog during your launch. So they've got so much traffic coming to their blogs. They've got a great Facebook page. And so because you'll be engaging with them back and forward building this blog out, when it's time for you to launch, they will write a review about it, or they'll give links to it, or they'll give a shout out on their Facebook page to try and get people to your blog, which is a really exciting thing. And I think one of the most valuable things about this little program here is the fact that it's community oriented like that. It's just great to be in that kind of social structure. So the other thing is, if you go ahead and do this, I'll actually support you too as a co-blogger. And in full transparency, with Corbin's course here, if I do recommend you off to him and you go ahead and buy it, I'm going to get a bit of a clip of the ticket. It's only 97 bucks, of course, anyway, so it's not big. It just helps me keep the lights on, the electricity going, basically, which is great. And I'm sure you don't mind that happening. And the thing is, if you go ahead and do it, I will support you. So who knows what you're going to do? I'm not sure of the people on the topics here, but it could be that you let me know, hey, Nick, I've gone ahead, I've launched my blog. I go and check it out. I might do a blog post on it. We might end up doing an interview together. It might be that I just share it on Facebook. Who knows? Depends on the topic of your blog. But I really want to encourage you and support you as I can in this process. And if it's something you want to do, then yeah, I'm more than happy to support you with it. So it kind of fits into the nothing to lose and everything to gain category as far as I can see. So basically that's kind of wrapping it up. It's been great. I've really enjoyed doing it. How to build an influential blog that is profitable. So this is the first online event for Influence Faculty. I've hoped you enjoyed it. If you want to go ahead and take advantage of the course, you just go to influencefaculty.com/start blog. I'll actually send it to you in an email as well, just so you've got it. And just think about it. In 90 days, I would love to see you having launched your blog. And of course, if you go ahead and take the opportunity and you don't like it, just ask them. They'll give you your money back within 60 days. Come ahead and come along and join us in this online adventure. We're going to be doing more of these. If you've liked this, keep a lookout. I'm not sure how often I'll do them, but I definitely will because I love doing it. So thanks for your attention tonight. If you came through Facebook, let me know if you liked it, and I'll send you out an email with all the content I said I would give you, the mind map and all that sort of stuff. So that's me signing off for tonight. Thank you very much for your attendance. I've really enjoyed doing this, and I'll catch you next time.